Good morning, 8th grade. Today we will be working with lesson number 15, which is found on page number 79 in your packet. Please put your first and last name at the top of the paper. Class 8. And today's date, Tuesday, November 3rd. Yesterday, in lesson 3.3, we reviewed the definitions of direct and indirect objects. And we'll do so once again today and take a look at some sentences and identify the sentence parts. I have highlighted for you some things that were found in yesterday's lesson that are worth reviewing. First of all, an indirect object answers the question to whom or for whom concerning the verb. In the sentence, Kara sold Matt the bicycle, Matt tells to whom Kara sold the bicycle. Bicycle is the direct object. Matt is the indirect object. There are several rules that indirect objects follow. First, they're only found in sentences that contain direct objects. Second, it always comes before the direct object. You will notice below this paragraph, I have inserted a little equation which helps us to remember the order. Subject plus verb plus indirect object plus direct object. It always will be in that order. And finally, if you want to do a little test, you could insert the preposition to or for in front of the indirect object. Kara sold to Matt the bicycle, or Kara sold the bicycle to Matt. Levi threw the football to Jake. If you see them in a sentence like this, however, they are not indirect objects. Notice in blue I have highlighted to Jake. In this particular sentence, to Jake is a prepositional phrase. Levi threw Jake the football follows the pattern subject, verb, indirect, direct object. In the second sentence, the subject is Levi, threw is the verb, the direct object is football, and it contains a prepositional phrase with no indirect object. Once again, I would like to follow using a color scheme or labeling S, V, I-O, D-O, and parentheses for prepositional phrases. If you have colors available and you want to color or highlight these, feel free to do so. Again, someone asked about, can I use my crayon or colored pencil? Absolutely. You can lightly just shade over the top of the word. That's perfectly fine if you don't have different highlighters, or label them, whatever works best for you. We're disregarding any directions that are printed here, and we're simply going to follow these as we go through these 12 examples on page number 79 for lesson number 15. Subject Yuri, threw verb, Kieran indirect, ball direct. Again, notice the pattern. The green is always coming before the gold, which represents the direct object. Jeweler, subject, sold, verb, couple, indirect, rings, direct. Roberto, refunded, Reina, indirect, cost, direct. Don't be confused. Don't select ticket. This is part of the prepositional phrase. If it's in the prepositional phrase, it cannot be the subject or any other object. This stays by itself. That's why I like to go ahead and set these apart so I'm not tempted to take them and use them as an object. Mr. Kenja, verb, gave, compound, indirect, Mickey Vance, direct object, permission. 5. Council, assigned, class, project. Once again, please notice the pattern. Pablo, paid, indirect, clerk, direct, dollars for the birthday card, prepositional phrase. Mom, sent, family, photograph. I marked number 8. Can you see why I maybe marked number 8? If you compare number 8 to number 7 or 6 or any of these other ones, why would we separate 8? It does not contain an indirect object. And so Jean-Luc speaks French, direct object. Fluently would be an adverb. We'll talk about those later as we review modifiers. So number 8 is different than the first 7 from the standpoint it does not contain an indirect object. Sarah, guaranteed, Ali, payment. For his work at her print shop, the sentence closes with 2 prepositional phrases. Class, notice that we are taking every skill lesson that we've reviewed so far and we're putting it to work in sentence number 9. We started the year with reviewing prepositional phrases. Then we talked about simple and complete subjects and predicates. We spoke about nouns. And we're talking about verbs and objects, and everything that we've talked about, we're able to apply here. Alicia, lent, indirect, Steve, direct, book. Mona, subject, verb, showed, Emilio, racket, her new tennis, modify racket. Mr. Hayes presented team trophy. Again, in my opinion, if you highlight, if you separate, if you label the sentence parts, subject, verb, and then you set aside the prepositional phrases, it makes the task of identifying all of the other sentence parts a lot easier. As you turn to the next page, page number 80, you'll notice that I have marked some numbers. Maybe you would want to mark them too. 18, 20, 28, 35, and 36. These sentences are similar to sentence number 8. And some of you are already saying to yourself, yes, I know what that is. It doesn't have something that the rest of the sentences have. You'll also notice that I have highlighted some of the words in these sentences because these are prepositional phrases, and because they're prepositional phrases, I cannot take them for indirect or direct objects. Let's take a look at a couple of more examples. Number 13. Joanna handed what? Letter. To whom or for whom? The mail carrier. Boris. What did Boris do? Boris gave. What did Boris give? He gave the ruler. To whom or for whom? Anita. Seth. What did Seth do? Seth taught. What did he teach? He taught language, or somebody might say sign language, somebody might say it's compound. And to whom did he teach it? Class. Again, I'm noticing the pattern, subject, verb, indirect, direct. If there is an indirect object, it has to follow that pattern. That'll bring to a close what we're going to do here on page numbers 79 and 80 with lesson 15. If you would like to do some extra credit, please feel free to continue and follow the pattern that we have been using on these first 15 items and also the ones from yesterday with sentences 16 through number 38. If you would like to, 16 through 38 can be extra credit. Either label them SVIODO parentheses for prepositional phrases or color code them the same as you go through those sentences. Tomorrow, we will continue talking about the use of linking verbs and subject complements, namely predicate nouns and predicate adjectives. Have a great Tuesday.